Savage Cut. Real talk, no filter on Savaged Unfiltered. Savaged.
Alrighty, guys, welcome on in. Thank you. And so, you guys have gotten to kind of understand where the hell have I been coming from here this last almost month now. I just purchased a home here up in the great state of Georgia. So that's where I'm at now, guys. I'm actually in Georgia. House number 2. The other home is in Florida, but gonna do the what do they call that? The Yankee hillbilly / snowbird effect, right? Gonna spend 6 months here in Georgia and the other 6 months in Florida. When it starts getting cold here in Georgia, I'm gonna go right back down to Florida. So anyway, guys, welcome into the show. Got a returning guest by the name of Donald Galade. He's been on the show once before. He is a best-selling author, financial advisor. He's got a lot of stuff going on. So he's got the book Awoken. He's like I said, all over the place. Check out the book, guys, on Amazon. With Donald A. Galade. You can check out his author page there, and it's going to take you right to the book, his latest work, which brings the book Awoken. And we'll talk a little bit about that, guys, if you missed the first episode, the first appearance with him on the show. I had him and obviously Jokester Joe, we call him, Joseph M. Leonard, which is not in studio today, but he'll be back, guys, next week. So without further ado, guys, this is Donald. Welcome in, Donald. How you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome. Great to have you back.
Thanks. So, wait, but before we start, it gets cold in Georgia, so you go to Florida?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm in the Pocono Mountains, about a half an hour from where the clown in Washington claims he was born. So this is cold, brother.
Yeah. Oh, it's starting to cool down there then.
Oh,
a little bit, or?
Yeah. We have 2 seasons, August and summer.
Oh wow. Yeah. Well, obviously Florida has 1 season. It's cold humidity, and it lasts for 365 days a year.
There you go.
Crazy. Georgia has a little winter. I think it lasts for maybe a couple months, but that's about it. But,
I didn't realize. Okay.
Yeah. So tell me, Donald, what have you been up to since we had you on last? I mean, you got your book out, Awoken. What's going on with the book?
Well, the book is hit international bestseller status, so we're real excited about that. I've been invited on a whole bunch of different shows, and actually I was on some global TV, if you will, with Daystar Network, and I'm actually coming down your neck of the woods in about 2 weeks to The Watchmen. There in Augusta. So there.
Oh, okay. I was going to say your neck of the woods. You got to remember, I'm 2 states. Depending on the year, actually. So that's cool. Gotcha. Augusta, Georgia. Wow. Gotcha, Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, these are primarily faith-based media outlets. They're of the Protestant sect, if you will. A lot of people are familiar with the Catholic channel, EWTN. These are like the Protestant equivalents of them. And Daystar is actually in like 148 countries. So it was pretty exciting to be on that show. And it's fun. It's fun, because the interesting thing about this book is, whether it's political, whether it's religious, whether it's conspiracy theory, it all ties in together. And that's the fun part. And a lot of the stuff I wrote in 2023 when this thing was originally penned, I mean, I've been working on it for longer than that, but when it was officially published in 2023, a lot of the stuff I wrote it didn't even happen yet. And I'm not a prophet. I'm not going to come on here and claim to be a prophet. But anybody can read the tea leaves where you know where to look.
Yeah. I had a gentleman on going back a couple episodes with the whole prophet thing, and he didn't label himself that way, Donald, but like he was like presenting himself that way, like this is what it's supposed to be, and he got into whole Shakespeare stuff, and I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, the whole prophet thing scares me because, if you pull it off and you're right, awesome, but
Yeah.
God worries. God specifically has some things to say about people that hold themselves out as a prophet. You could be prophetic, but just don't hold yourself out as a prophet. There's a big difference.
Sure. I mean, I remember my mother telling me back in the day, whatever works for you, right? If it works for you, go for it. But I mean,
awesome.
The whole, becoming another Messiah, especially in today's generation, you see a lot of people trying to do that, man.
Yeah. If I may, let me just read the back of the book because this kind of
go ahead.
up.
Plug away.
So on the back it says an elite. Now, mind you, this was written and published before a lot of the stuff is going on. It says an elite group asserts dominance and control over every aspect of your life, including your afterlife. Individual freedoms are sacrificed for the so-called greater good. A new world order crushes dissidents, and a select group has the power to shape the future of humanity. What if all conspiracy theories you heard for decades were not only true, but were all connected? What if we were told the creation of the New World Order requires the participation knowingly of every former United States president and world leader since 1900? What if proof existed that the secret societies like the Illuminati, Freemasons, Skull and Bones were used by Satan and his Antichrist? Who is the Antichrist? When will he appear? Where will he come from? Even Jesus said we do not know who the Antichrist is. As the world's nuclear superpowers sail their armadas to the Middle East, the stage is set for World War III. It's where we will see the revealing of the Antichrist. Even the elect will be deceived by this new world leader. As he arrives on a white horse, this is the most important part. As he arrives on a white horse, the Sunni Muslims will know him as a Muslim Christ. The Shiite Muslims will know him as the Mahdi. And Christians will know him as the Antichrist. So the terror groups that are in this Shia camp will refer to their Messiah as the Mahdi or the Mahdi. And that person will be what Christians referred to as the Antichrist.
Interesting.
Pretty heavy.
You tie it a lot to World War III. If you want to kind of allude and expand on that, Donald,
sure.
What do you mean by that, World War III?
All right. So, in the biblical sense, the world ends, and then there's the New World Order. And the word world and earth are different. It's the world ending, not the earth ending. And in a biblical sense, the world ending is a phase, like when the church age stops and Satan and the Antichrist rule. That's a new world era. That's a new world order, which we've heard originally penned by, I think the first person to say it was George Bush Sr.
Instagram teen accounts have automatic protections for what teens see and who can contact them, plus time management tools. And Instagram will continue adding built-in safety features to help create age-appropriate experiences. Learn more about teen accounts and Instagram's ongoing work to protect teens online at instagram.com/teenaccounts.
Right.
So
Michael Gardner,
World War III
Uncut.
will pretty much be when the entire world surrounds Israel, and every country in the world is against Israel. Now, we can almost say that's happened, except the United States isn't 100% against Israel. But January 22nd of next year, we'll see if that's still the case. Because God forbid, the election goes a certain way. It's very possible that then the entire world will indeed be against Israel. And when that, I'm sorry?
No, I was gonna chime in with something like what you just said. Like you basically said, towards January, with that.
Well, that's the inauguration of the next president, January 22nd. Yeah. So if Trump gets in, we'll still have the United States not against Israel. If Trump loses, every country in the world will officially be against Israel.
Yeah. I could see that. I could also see our political warfare continuing after January, even if Trump doesn't get in.
Absolutely.
I've been saying that for months upon months on this show, and I'm not trying to stir the pot and invoke violence, but I mean we have to come to terms, Donald, like with our political warfare. I call it a political civil war because that's what you're seeing in this nation. You're seeing two parties rip each other apart for supremacy, grand supremacy, and grand power over the people. And we need to stop that, because if we continue it, we're going to have a lot of conflict. You're talking about a World War III. We're facing our own war here in the country.
Well, it goes deeper than that. See, we look at it as Democrat versus Republican. Yeah. And then there's some facets where it's black against white. There's some where it's Jew versus Palestinian. It's good versus evil, period.
Well, it's that political warfare, like I mentioned. Yeah.
100%. Now, when you delve into the book of Revelation, it talks about the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and they're colored. Okay, you got white, black, red, and pale green. And the interesting thing is, if you take those four colors, they are the colors of the Palestinian flag. And if you have the Shiite Muslims, who are the ones causing some of the terrorism that we have going on, it ties together. Now, don't take this as every person who's a Muslim is a terrorist. That is 100% not what I said. Right. Because there's terrorists in the Democratic and Republican parties. All right. So I'm not branding a person as a terrorist by their skin color, religion, creed, or nationality. But the book of Revelation is very, very, very clear as to when and how these things take place. And the when, we don't even have a show long enough for that, because there's a lot of stuff where we actually do know when things will happen by the different astrology and then different things that are actually listed.
That's on another topic. That's probably like chapters and chapters of topics and conversations.
And it's even above my pay grade, man. I'm just scratching the surface with that. But you see, all I've done with this book, I didn't create anything new. All I've done with this is I've taken the conspiracy theories that we've all grown up with, and I've taken the political stuff that's been going on since day one, and I've tied it into what God says is going to happen in the future. And it's ironic how they all meld together in one cohesive thought. So people say, you're a one issue voter. Dude, it's good versus evil. All right. If you're on the side of good, I'm in. All right. If you're on the side of evil, it is what it is, and I'm sorry, taking an innocent human life is the one thing that the Lord really, really, really is opposed to. And every time the United States, for example, every time the United States has messed with Israel with their two-state solution, we've had a natural disaster in this country. If you go back to Katrina, if you go to the hurricane we just had, the hurricane that is already coming, and if you go back to all of the major disasters, you could find that politically somebody in our government, most likely a president, has messed with in some way Israel. And God's very clear. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you.
You mentioned something about natural disasters. I find that interesting because, not to sound ridiculous or anything like that, but, you see a lot of comments coming, on a lot of social media platforms, especially here on X, with a lot of people questioning the origins of these storms. Now, are they fabricated by our government?
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't want to get too much into crazy rabbit hole conspiracy theories, but I mean, it's a high possibility.
I'll do it for you. Yeah, they are. They are fabricated.
You notice they're always coming from either one location, right? Either one location, right? Either the Gulf or they're coming from somewhere like out in the Mid-Atlantic.
A storm goes from a 2 to a 5 in a matter of hours, and it manifests in the Gulf, and it heads east for the first time ever. And now the next storm is come on.
It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. I mean,
and the technology exists. We tried this against Cuba in the 60s. It's proven that this stuff exists, and you could actually go into the archives of all of the major news networks, regardless of which one it is, and find stories on this 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. And like there was somebody the other day, I forgot the damn tag because I should have reposted the damn thing on X, but there was somebody saying, it's kind of odd that a storm would form literally like right in the middle of the Gulf. Like how does that, like we had a lean form in the Gulf, right? So to speak, right? And then we had now, what's this Hilton storm, right? Hilton now forming right around the same area and projecting the same area of Florida. So I find that odd. I do find that very, very odd.
Let's make it even more odd. First of all, the Tennessee National Guard, which could have aided a lot of folks, was deployed to the Middle East before the storm hit. The area that's impacted most has more lithium in the ground than Africa. And the people who own the rights to that are BlackRock and Vanguard. And one of the major shareholders of that happens to be the vice president's husband. All right. Yeah. Now that's not even the whole. That's not even
BlackRock. Donald's on everybody's radar, buddy.
BlackRock will fund the New World Order and the Antichrist, and I cover that in this book. And it's really funny because as a financial advisor by trade, I wrote a whole part of this book about a letter I got. See, I'm always getting inundated by different financial institutions.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. They're saying, "Hey, use our products," right? I got a letter from BlackRock about 7 months ago. And it said, you should look at putting your clients' money with us, especially when it comes to Ukraine, because this is the way it was phrased. BlackRock has been given the task of cleaning up or rebuilding Ukraine. So the war hasn't ended. They were given the task, and they're asking financial advisors to start having people move their money. Seriously? Okay. So here I am.
If they're doing all this, Donald, if I may chime in, why isn't there internal investigations towards BlackRock? I mean, I want to kind of tie that in because, BlackRock was also responsible for a commercial ad with the would-be two assassins that were trying to take out Trump. Yeah.
And the reason why is because the people who have the authority to do such a thing are in the same camp.
Yeah.
Okay. It's good versus evil. And I'm not saying that every Democrat is evil. I'm just saying that the people who are in control are in the same camp financially. They're in the same camp politically. They're in the same camp spiritually, because ultimately it is that dark force that is going to control the new world order. Now, from a biblical standpoint, those who believe in Christ, well, there's this thing called a rapture. And now we don't have a lot of time for that. But basically, if you believe in Christ, we're out.
If data management is slowing down your business, you need the Intuit ERP. If one entity is here, and one here, and one here, and one here, you need the Intuit ERP. If scaling your business feels like starting over, you need the Intuit ERP. Intuit Enterprise Suite is the AI-native ERP solution that consolidates, migrates, and automates, all in one place. Learn more at intuit.com/ERP.
We're out, and then the 7-year tribulation starts.
That's what they're trying to eliminate, the Christ in America, religion in America, spirituality in America. They don't want it.
Right, and that's why they're pushing the UFO agenda now, because when a third of the world disappears from the rapture, like the Bible says, they'll blame it on aliens.
Easy blame.
Yeah. How about it, right?
Easy blame, right?
Yeah,
but I mean, that, oh God, can you imagine people trying to like comprehend that? Oh my God, they couldn't even comprehend COVID, let alone can you comprehend aliens?
Well, here's a scarier thought. You're on an airplane and you're of a religion other than Christian, you don't believe in Christ. The guy flying the airplane, he's of the same religion you are. The rapture happens. There's no pilot. Or the pilot is Christian, excuse me. The pilot's raptured, that plane's going down. You're on a bus, that bus is crashing. You're in a car. All right, so the aftermath of the rapture is even bigger than the actual event, meaning that's what brings on the tribulation. That's what brings on the ultimate suffering. So really, it's once again good versus evil, and the Black Rocks of the world are going to fund it. The George Soroses and his boss Klaus Schwab are the ones who are in charge of it, and the UN and the UAW, and the all of the acronyms of all of the global organizations. When you look at the United Nations Project 2030, which says, we're going to eat bugs, we're going to live in areas where we're all going to live in the same apartment complexes, we're not going to have cars because there's not going to be fossil fuels. Oh, ironically, all they got to do is take out Iran and then they won't have fossil fuels.
Well, that's all your Bernie Sanders and your AOCs, right? They want us to live in
See how it all comes together like a tapestry? All the goofy, weird stuff ties together to ultimate good versus evil.
And I think, what I think? I think it's the true distraction of what they're trying to present there, not only in the country, but also in the world too.
Correct.
They're trying to, like you said, the New World Order, it's very real. I mean, you're experiencing it now. And if you can't see the experience through the New World Order, in America, then you're blind. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be completely honest, because everything that you're seeing with natural disaster, with corruption, with all that stuff, attempted assassinations on former presidents, that is all one world order of power that they want. They don't want this man named Donald Trump to get elected in November.
And here's why. In the Project 2030, which you can go on the UN website and look at Project 2030. It's a legitimate thing. Their Project 2025 is a smokescreen.
Yeah, I was going to say, does that tie in with 25 at all? Project
100% opposites.
Okay.
Project 2030 is a real thing. I ask all your listeners to go on the UN website and look at Global Project 2030, something like that. And it lists in very phonetical ways everything we're talking about. Now, that once was Project 2020. However, in 2016, Hillary was supposed to bring the ball home. She didn't get in. That's why the second Donald Trump won the election, they had to come after him the second he won. Because he was the only president who has not been part of the cabal. I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat. I'm a GOP voting person, and I got to tell you, I'm almost embarrassed to say that a lot of the folks I voted for are in the same camp. Okay, if you go back in history, without Nixon taking us off the gold standard, we couldn't have crypto. Without George Bush creating the concept for the New World Order, we wouldn't have the blueprint. Without Bush Jr. giving us the Patriot Act, we couldn't have given up our rights. Without Obama giving us Obamacare, which has nothing to do with health care, it's the dry run for the sheep to line up and take the shot, which will be ultimately the mark of the beast from the Antichrist. Without having Carter creating the Department of Energy and the Department of Labor and the Department of Education, we couldn't dumb down the kids. We couldn't have the global warming scams that we have, and we couldn't have the kids not knowing history. I believe kids don't know how to learn how to read and write in cursive writing, so they can't read the original
it's
documents
terrible. It really is, Donald. Yeah, but my question is like you're explaining a lot of great factual information on the show. For some of the listeners that may be, a little, I'm sorry to say, uneducated, right? Like, why is our country wanting to go through this? I call it radicalization of a totalitarian type of leadership. I don't even know what they want. They keep on spewing democracy, democracy, democracy. Folks, we don't live under a democracy. We live under a constitutional republic. Why do they want to rip out the constitutional republic and bring in full-blown democracy? Okay, well, that's my question, because like you see what democracy does to countries, Donald. There's nothing good that comes out of a democracy. I need you to, I don't know, but I don't see anything good coming out.
You're 100% correct. But I need you to not think of the United States. I need you to think of the world.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the world too, but I'm kind of throwing that out there with you. Yeah.
Now, day one, when you have Adam and Eve.
Sure.
You have the serpent creates the evil with man in the Garden of Eden. Okay? You have good, you have evil. Everything from that day until the day the world ends, it's been nothing but a continuous battle of good versus evil. However, Satan has been given dominion over the earth. I know a lot of people that blows their mind. All right, he's been given the dominion over the earth, and we have to accept Christ, and that's how we get out of here. And then it's just Satan and his minions for the 7-year tribulation. So it's ultimately nothing more than good versus evil. Now, let's say, are we going to fix this? No. Is Trump going to fix this? No. Is anybody going to fix this? No. And if it doesn't happen now, it's going to happen next election and the next election or whatever. But God said on the first day when he wrote the book of Genesis, this is how it's going to end. And it has to end at his choosing, at his time frame. And it all boils down to having a relationship. So what you're saying is
a political leader or anyone in this nation or anyone in the world for that matter cannot end of what we're currently 100%. Experiencing. They cannot end huge amounts of inflation. They cannot end corruption. They cannot end homelessness. They cannot end anything, crime, all that stuff that you see in the nation today. They can't end it. They can't end high housing prices.
Not to, because they're part of the evil. Now, you can have a good, honest, God-fearing person who will give us a stay of execution for a period of time, and it may kick the can down the road, and it may make things better for a short period of time, all right? But ultimately, God said, this is the way it ends. So
it ends on his watch and his watch only, then, you're saying?
That's right.
So when is that time going to end?
Halliday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Halliday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Saturday. Saturday, bring it on.
Savaged with Michael Gardner on Spotify.
So we just have to go through this turmoil of chaos until it ends.
And that's where the whole purpose of this is not to freak people out. It's to show that it's all connected. And ultimately, all that matters is having a relationship with Jesus. That's it.
You know,
Okay?
John, after hearing that, you say, like it all ends on his watch, but we just have to suffer. Man, life sucks.
It does, doesn't it? But that's where the only hope comes in. All right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be a grandfather for the first time in like 5 months. I don't want it to end till I'm like, I want to see that kid walk down the aisle and have kids and have.
Yeah. Oh, we lost you there for a minute.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there he is. No, we'll get him back. Up there he is. Okay, we see you.
Okay. Sorry, I'm.
No, I was going to say, you probably got so excited. You're talking about you're going to be a grandfather and everything, and the camera slipped. But
well, I did. I slapped the camera. So,
okay.
So we don't know when, but all we can do is have a relationship with Jesus and pray. That's it.
Well, for some of my conservative listeners, they're gonna tell you, okay, and I'm sure you're gonna get comments that come in on Spotify and other platforms. They're gonna say, we can't sing around a campfire and sing Kumbaya and think the world is going to be a peaceful world in the next 10 years because it's not, Donald. I'm not saying radicalization right now unfold at high extreme levels.
I'm not saying we act like sheep
crying for help in this nation
and roll over.
There's people that are demanding their leadership right now, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just going by what people say.
Sure.
As a media host, there are people crying out up to Washington saying, we shouldn't have homeless vets in the street. We shouldn't have crime in liberal cities. I mean, they're liberal cities.
Absolutely.
Some of the greatest cities in the world turn liberal. And it's unfortunate. But
I'm not saying we roll over and play dead and we just, we have to fight to the bitter end.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have to. If we don't fight, then like you said, the evil is winning over the good. Right. And that is a spiritual warfare that the good must be successful at the end. We must be successful in that fight.
This could go on another 20, 30, 40, 50 years before there's an end. I don't know.
Hell, it could go on for another 1,000 years if humanity is still around then. But
so what we're supposed to do, someday, you and I and every person watching this are going to stand in front of God and he's going to say, what have you done? Tell me what you've done with your life. Tell me what you've done with my son Jesus. You're going to have an accounting for every word, every thought, everything. Okay, the proverbial, like in the cartoons, your life's playing on the screen.
Yeah.
So I think you're also going to be accountable for every vote. Why did you vote for that person? That person was evil. Why did you vote? People say, "Oh, well, it's like abortion. Abortion means nothing. I care about the economy."
I hope podcasting is around when God comes back. But I mean, if you're saying in the beginning of the conversation that it doesn't matter, like we can do all this, we can fight, we can pray, we can do all this stuff, but it doesn't matter because the reason why it doesn't matter is because it sounds like it, and I'm not kind of putting words in your head, but it kind of sounds like it doesn't matter, and it's only what God wants for the nation. Like everything ends on His watch. It doesn't end on our watch. It's not going to. It's not a person like Donald Trump. It's not a person like Kamala Harris. It's none of these people that can end and prevent goodness or whatever in this nation. It's all God. Correct. So if it doesn't matter, like why do people continue to say pray, pray, pray? Right?
I love this question. All right. See, it's a
$1 billion question.
Oh, I love, but I have
an answer to it.
I have an answer. Yes. There's a scripture that says, "Pray for the peace of Israel." Well, I just said that the Bible says that Israel is surrounded and pretty much eventually destroyed. And there's only a certain number of people in Israel that make it out. And I stood on the battle of where the Battle of Armageddon will happen. I stood there 2 years ago, and I talked to these old rabbis right there. But anyway, it says pray for the peace of Israel. Well, there's a period of time where there's a tiny little bit of time where there's peace, and then it happens. So when they're saying pray for the peace of Israel, it's not pray for the peace of Israel that means it's going to be peace forever, because we know it's not. It's pray for the peace of Israel because that's going to usher in that period of time. And then, see, if you're a believer, we're out of here. We're out of here in a blink of an eye, in a twinkling of an eye. Every person who's a believer in Christ is gone. There are people that dispute the rapture. Ain't my job to explain it to you. It's in the book. All right. Not my book, God's book. But our job is to say to all the other people we know, you need to have a relationship with Jesus. That's the only thing God tells us to do, is to go out and make disciples, not converts. And I'm not talking about religion. I don't care if you're Protestant, Catholic, Episcopalian, doesn't matter. It's have a relationship with Jesus, because all of that other stuff is just people fighting. Okay, Catholics and Protestants, and it's just people fighting. And Satan just wrings his hands, smile, and say, "Oh, look at that! I got him good."
Yeah. So I want to kind of close it out here with you with your book,
Okay.
Awoken. How'd you come up with the name? I wanted to ask that what the first appearance you were on with the show, because it's called Awoken, guys. It's available on Amazon. So how'd you come up with the book Awoken? It's
a spoof off woke, being woke. Okay, it's awoken. The world is woke because all the kids, I didn't even know what that word was years ago. My oldest was like 28.
I never knew what it was up until like 4 years ago, to be honest with you. When everybody started using the term woke or awoken, like I would see terminology, like awoken in like, churches and stuff like that when I was younger, but I thought it was more like a Christianity term. I never knew, like, until it got more politicalized,
when that's just
made it more political. Yeah.
Awoken is the Christianese version, and the website is a-woken.com. That's the spoof off of being woke, because the wokeism is what the evil is pushing down these kids' throats. You don't know what your sex is. You don't know what.
Why the hell are they bringing that into schools? That pisses me off.
It's evil.
Like, you see that stuff. Like what the hell do you need to teach a kid at 5-6 years old about gender ideology? What the hell do they need to know that for?
Don't. When I made a film called The Voice of John. Pro-life film called The Voice of John, and I had an abortionist who became a Christian who was telling all of her sins, if you will, about the abortion industry. TheVoiceOfJohn.org, and this woman was saying her job was to go into the schools and teach these kids about safe sex, and then hand out effective condoms, so they would be the first clients that she would have from that child as an abortion by the time they were 12. Like, that's just pure evil. God hates the shedding of innocent blood, and that's what evil wants. So all of that, okay? I mean, I know it makes an average person with this much intelligence and this much conscience, it makes your head explode.
Oh, it does make my head explode. Like where I live right now, like currently, like I'm not too far from Atlanta, right? Downtown Atlanta. Like if there was some type of an event coming up with, men and, cross-dressing and all that stuff, and they're showing their genitalia and stuff like that. And there's kids, obviously, people going through the city, going to stores and stuff, and they see that. Yep. Dude, I'm taking my phone out and I'm calling the cops. I don't care how upsetting these people get. I'm calling the cops, and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to tell the cops what these bastards are doing in front of these children.
Correct.
Because it's disgusting.
Correct. From Atlanta, Dr. Alveda King was in the film that we made, and she's one of the most awesome women I've ever met in my entire life. Really? Oh my God!
This was in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Our offices are in Atlanta. The only time I was in Atlanta is when we were filming this with her. But the people look at me and they say, you're a conspiracy freak. Dude, I'm just talking about what has happened in history and showing you how they tie together. That's all I'm
Sometimes you
doing.
have to. You have to be that conspiracy freak, to enlighten people, educate them, wake them up, right, guys? Woken, not waken, or I said it backwards. Awaken, not woke. Awaken the people. Awaken the masses.
Right.
That's what we have to do. We have to awaken the masses.
And it's not Democrat versus Republican, black or white. It's good versus evil. So, I mean, I have friends that are Democrats, but not liberal. There's a difference, okay? I have friends that are Democrats that are really, really awesome Catholic, Bible-believing, Protestant, whatever people that love the Lord. And will they pull the D lever? Probably, but they're still good people, okay?
Yeah.
So ultimately, we have to hire the people to run this country that have a relationship with God. And the evil hates that. Okay?
Oh, they
Because
do.
evil doesn't want God around. We kicked them out of school, and then that's what brought in abortion, and then it was the slippery slope from then on down. All right? People say, well, why wasn't God there in those schools when there was a school shooter? And he says, well, you've asked them to leave, so he did. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, we
have free will.
We just had something happened about a month ago up in Winder, Georgia, with the whole school shooting up in Winder. And my thoughts go out to, the families and
it's brutal.
Loved ones and friends that were affected by that. We shouldn't have to place metal detectors, armed security guards in schools. I mean, we should be able to send our children to schools without fear.
Right.
Seriously, now, parents are so terrified of even having their children walk down the block to school. Back in the day, I grew up in New York City, guys, originally. So I would walk from the house in Queens over to, grammar school, middle school, high school and stuff until I learned how to drive. But I mean, my mother wouldn't have a problem, or she wouldn't have worries in her head, thinking I'm going to get mugged. I'm going to get picked up by a stranger. Obviously we were taught back then, if you see somebody come up to you, you yell stranger danger.
Right.
I mean, when the hell was that last said? Stranger danger. You see somebody, hey kid, you want some candy? Stranger danger. You yell it until you get somebody's attention, and then they call the cops. We don't have all that anymore because no one's concerned. The neighbors can care two craps about what other people's kids, and that's unfortunate.
That's the slippery slope. See,
that is the slippery slope.
It starts off, all right, you take prayer out of school. And initially that was huge. And then eventually we have the abortion, and then we have gay marriage, and then it gets to the point where, the LGBTQ issue, it was, well, first we just want to love whoever we want, and we're just going to, and that's fine. But
that was the whole 60s. I think now they're trying to get revenge now, going, fast forward 50 some odd years later, 60 years later. Oh, we didn't get what we wanted in the 60s and 70s, so now we're going to radicalize it. Now we're going to force people to support us in this. No, I don't have to support that. I'm sorry.
And if I walked into a school with a Bible in my hand, I would be ostracized. But I can roll out a mat and I can pray to pace Mecca, and that's fine.
You have a right to express yourself, but you do not have a right to shove it down people's throats.
Correct.
Yeah, that is correct.
And why, and the whole separation of church versus state, it's funny. I challenge all your readers to look at the original church separation of church and state, because it doesn't mean what people think it means. It was originally, first of all, it's not in any government documents. It was a letter written by Thomas Jefferson. It was later referenced in a Supreme Court case, but it's not in any corporate, it's not in any government.
You bring this up a really good point, and I want to try to focus on the time here, but did you see that? I had an episode with he was a radical liberal. And he was getting into separation of church and state. And he says that, he was a church bearing guy, and, there's nothing wrong with that. But he was saying that the church has to be more federalized. And I'm like, what?
Originally, the whole separation was to keep
brainwashed, buddy.
It was to keep the church out of government, because what happened was, when you go back, the Pope appointed the king, and the king decided what was going on, and the Pope had a say in what happened. And that's when you have, then France said, oh, England has a Pope, we want a Pope. And then you can go through church history, and you see the separation between the Byzantines and the Latin rites, and it was all over the Pope and the leadership and the politicalness. And now what do you see happening today? The Pope is now saying, whatever religion you want, it's all right, no worries. Well, I'll just sit around and sing Kumbaya. And that's what God says in the last days. Evil will be good, good will be evil. And you said it before, there's people that are actually calling themselves vicars and leaders and, dare I say, Christ. And that's where we are. And it's horrible.
They attack the church. Some churches bent to the federal government. You see churches here in Atlanta. I kid you not, guys. Go down Peachtree Street, right, in downtown Atlanta. You will see like a few churches. Like there's one on one side and one usually. I think there's like one across the street that have rainbow flags drapered. Right? Oh my God!
Yeah.
Rainbow flags on churches.
Here's the thing. The rainbow that God gave the world was to say he would never destroy the earth by water again. That has 7 colors.
The LGBT ripped that off, Don.
It has 6.
I'm sorry to say they ripped that off of God because
theirs has 6 rainbow colors.
Yeah, exactly.
And 6 is the number of man. 7's the number of God.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Like that entire image of the rainbow. That was ripped off. The LGBT ripped that off. They shouldn't have done that. That's a disgrace.
And I'm not saying I'm against anybody that has an alternate lifestyle. All right.
Hey, whatever you do in your personal bedroom, it's your business. I can care less. But don't try to force it upon myself, my family, or friends that do not support it.
Or my 5-year-old kid in story time.
That too. Yeah. That's a no. I'm sorry.
Right. Let's just go back to some basic right and wrong.
I could tell you one thing. Like if my children are grown now, but like if my children were younger now and growing up in especially society now, the radical society that we're growing up through, living through, if I seen some crazy lunatic come up to my child and start preaching upon that woke ideology of gender ideology and all that stupid crap, I would self-identify as the tooth fairy at that point. If you catch my exactly, I would probably have to spend a couple days in jail or prison,
correct,
because of what I would do to this person.
We homeschooled our kids years ago because we saw this coming. And my oldest is 28, and my youngest is 24. All right, and we homeschooled them then. Because we saw, and I live in what was predominantly the Irish Catholic capital, pull the D regardless of if Satan was on the ballot, which he was. Yeah. But, and we saw the handwriting on the wall then. And we're not rocket scientists.
Yeah, I shared the same experience. I grew up in a Jewish, Irish, Italian community. And, Jewish, Irish, and Italians, they all pulled together.
Yeah.
I don't know where the hell it's gone now. Now it's a shit show what's going on up in New York. It really is. But
and Savaged with Michael Gardner on Spotify.
Comment made by a Palestinian leader that one day their flag will fly above the White House. And they're not that far off.
Yeah, we're not that far off. Don,
remember, the 4 colors of the 4 horsemen are
the 4 horsemen. I want to thank you for coming on once again to kind of finish up from that first appearance. I think you just expanded a lot that we haven't heard in the first episode with you. I know you could find the book, guys, on Amazon.com. His book Awoken.
Right. And I have a website that'll take you right there too. It's a-woken.com.
Okay. Yeah. One more time if they didn't get that.
Yeah. It's the letter A hyphen, then WOKEN.com. And all my books are on there. There's 3 or 4 other books.
Yeah. There's a huge library. Any other books in the making if you want to plug?
I have an idea, but it's it's just an idea, but it's a spin off of that LGBT concept, and this goes back to Old Testament, where with when there were people that were having like Sodom and Gomorrah, if you will. Okay. I mean, so it's nothing new under the sun. And there's a reason why God destroyed some cities in those days. And then we see the Greeks and we see the Romans and we see how those societies fell, and they fell because of welfare and rampant homosexuality.
Yeah. Got to get this country back. Don,
Amen.
Always a pleasure to talk
Thanks
to you, buddy.
so much.
Guys, check his books out on Amazon.com. If they just search you, Donald Galade, on Amazon, it'll go right to your author's page, right?
It does. And if you just type Awoken Conspiracy or Theory, or if you type, we've hit the charts, so it's
I always direct people to the actual author because it's easier if you just type it into Amazon and it goes right to an author's page.
Correct. So, awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on there, and I want to leave on a good note. That, it's scary out there, it's brutal, and it probably will get worse, but ultimately God's in control, and that's all we got to focus on.
Things will prevail. Things will get better. It's going to take time. The crack will not seal up right away.
That's
good. It takes time to work at it.
Yeah.
Take it easy.